You're listening to Mr. Credit on San Diego 1700 with local credit expert Derek Evans. Now, live in studio, Mr. Credit.
Welcome to Mr. Credit. That is Red, by the way. You can check them out, Red Music Online. We're live and local here in San Diego. We're bringing you the most important hour in radio, folks, inarguably, because we're telling you everything that they don't want you to know. We're going to add a new one to the list today, although we may not get into it a lot today. We definitely will tomorrow. When we say they, we're talking about the Wall Street gangsters who are going to get a pummeling from us today. The big government, the big banks, the big ugly credit bureaus, the media. Remember, the debt settlement companies are now a part of this, and we're also going to add the pharmaceutical companies in some portions of the medical industry. For my uncle, the emergency room doctor, is listening, I'm not talking about you. You the man. All right, visit MrCreditRadio.com if you want to send me an email or do a Facebook search for Mr. Credit, and you will find me there. I'm going to stop talking about the Padres for a second. I don't want to be the jinxer here. We've lost 6 in a row. We needed this, though. We needed this wake-up call. We needed to hit the skids a little bit here. You don't want to be on fire when, right before you get to the playoffs. You kind of want to be due when that time comes. So we still have a 4-game lead. Absolutely no reason to freak out or be upset. We're still in great shape and shouldn't have trouble unless we completely collapse getting into the playoffs. Although I think we got a lot of guys that are due now. If we can go ahead and just get back to win one, lose one, and play 500 ball the rest of the year and then catch a little fire at the beginning of the playoffs, we will be good to go. In the studio today, as always on Wednesdays, at least that is when I'm not sick, like last week, or from eating bad protein bars from 7-Eleven, which I highly do not recommend. No! We've got William McDonald in the studio today for Bankruptcy Wednesday, Debt Relief Strategy Wednesday. William, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Derek.
Extended applause for you today. You brought in
quite an applause.
We got a lot of people in the studio here. We got this live audience going. So we brought in some stuff. First of all, I wanted to go through this question. This was just too good of one. The one that that I emailed over to you yesterday. That someone who is not only a single mother of 3 children, but also is someone who works for the military and who serves this country, who had a really interesting situation. Now, have you ever seen the Department of Treasury try to collect money from someone?
Just the IRS.
Yeah.
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 But not in this context, where
Okay.
it sounds like it was a guaranteed mortgage, basically, or is insured by the government.
Right.
So I haven't seen it in that context of the question that was presented.
Okay, let me pop that in there. So basically what happened is in about 2005, there was a foreclosure on a property. And then in 2009, that property was bought back by the government, the Rural Housing Development, which left a balance of about $92,000. In 2010, around May, there was a debt settlement that was filed and mailed to this individual. And she was obviously unable to make a settlement for $92,000, being a single parent of 3 children who are all very young. In August, she got a collection letter from the Department of Treasury, and I guess that's what I meant, was a collection letter from the Department of Treasury for the unpaid debt given to them for now up to, like we always say, anytime someone's going to collect, they're always adding money in, $122,000, which means they added $30,000 $30,000 to the bill for collection fees and so forth. I don't know who's collecting these things. Maybe it's Butch Harmon. If I heard he charges $1,000 an hour. But they'd been informed that they will garnish any of her federal income by 15% if she didn't pay it until it was paid. Now, imagine that. Now, if you're in the military, even if you are a pretty high-ranked individual, let's say you're making $60,000, $70,000, if they're taking 15% off, let's call that $10,000 a year they're taking away from you right off of the top, that's going to hit you where it hurts. And it's going to take, a dozen-plus years to pay
yeah,
something
you're never
like
going to pay that off.
Oh, my goodness.
It's taking all your discretionary income, so, any vacations you want or anything,
Movie
any
night,
extra
forget about it.
savings, gone.
So when she contacted me, she had heard us on the radio, and she wanted to find out, can I discharge this debt in Chapter 7? And that's why I emailed to you, because I wanted to find that out first before I advised her what to do, was what was going to be best for her credit score and the future of her credit. And this is something you believe is dischargeable.
Yes. I think this debt can be discharged, and we're seeing this same thing a lot, not necessarily with somebody collecting from the U.S. Treasury, but just from the big banks. After a foreclosure where somebody has a home equity line of credit, the first forecloses, the senior mortgage forecloses, and then a year down the road, the second's coming after the borrower for $50,000 deficiency. Kind of same thing here. In this case, it looks like the loan was insured by the government. So when it went to foreclosure, let's say Chase had that loan, went to foreclosure, Chase took a loss. It was insured by the government, so now the government's collecting on it. But Chapter 7 should be dischargeable. I mean, there's a very limited few things that are non-dischargeable. So the bankruptcy laws are set up in the consumer's favor. It's there to benefit you, to take advantage of it, and there's only going to be very limited cases where something is not dischargeable.
Yes. So in this case, this is clearly an unsecured debt because the property was foreclosed on many years ago. And this is a collection, so this goes into the category of unsecured debts. This is not a tax debt or one of those, like you said, those rare debts that's not dischargeable. So the conclusion has to be that ultimately when we say dischargeable, we mean deleted forever by filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Now, not only in this case will she be able to discharge that debt or eliminate it, delete it forever, but also any other credit card debts that she might have, or collections, or medical bills, or potentially unsecured loans, personal loans, things along those lines. If she's got a bad auto lease, maybe she's got 2 cars, only needs one, whatever it may be, one of those can go away too. She can keep the one she wants. She might even have, potentially other wage garnishments or judgments out there that can be discharged, and potentially even some old tax debt too. So it's not just, when the thing about Chapter 7, when I list out all these neat things that you can do with it and how you can actually, make an educated financial personal decision to file Chapter 7, it's all inclusive. I mean, you choose what you want to use within there and what you don't. You don't have to do multiple filings. It's all under the same umbrella. So in this case, the trigger might be a huge debt like this, but in the end, the effect could be that there are many other items that might be weighing on an individual that can be taken care of as well.
That's what I see in my practice. There's always a trigger. Like you said, it could be a deficiency balance from a foreclosure. It could be, collection calls. It could be getting served with a summons and complaint for, on an old credit card bill. And then once, the client comes in and sits down, then we can go over and typically we see, looking at the situation, it's like, well, this is long overdue. You should have considered. But people don't really think about Chapter 7. They're scared of bankruptcy until they really find out more about it. And they're like, oh, well, this is a fabulous tool to get me a fresh start.
Yeah, what's funny is I was listening to the radio, 91X Team Playa. I want the truth! Team Playa. And I was hearing an ad for someone talking about bankruptcy, and then they threw in at the end, and it helps your credit score most of the time too. So I think that we're people. It's catching on.
It's coming around.
People are starting to understand the fact that in reality, most of the time when someone files a Chapter 7, their credit score goes higher. Now, on Friday, I came into your office, did my free consultation, which I highly recommend that anyone do. Listen, if you have debts out there, if you have any kind of stress, there's no reason to walk around with a financial gorilla on your back. There's just no reason to. You don't have to. The law's been set up in a way that you can take advantage of it. Call William McDonald, get your free consultation with him directly, not someone else, in his office, 858-437-0103. Okay, 858-437-0103. All you have to do when you call in, you don't have to get any paperwork out or anything like that. Just call the number, schedule a time that's good for you based on your availability, and then you can come down and get the paperwork and do the initial consultation. Now, what we were doing, we were playing with the means test a little bit, and it was really interesting to kind of find out, you can make 6 figures and still qualify for bankruptcy. I think a lot of people think, well, I have a good job. I make $80,000 a year. I make $85,000 a year. I'm a tenured professor, whatever it may be. There's no way they would let me file for bankruptcy. But it doesn't have to do with your income. It has a lot to do with your income versus what your liabilities are, right?
That's exactly right. And a lot of people don't even realize that they can even file anymore since they changed the bankruptcy laws in 2005. There's a lot of media coverage out there saying, if you're going to file bankruptcy, you have to do it now. And so a lot of people have, just from that media coverage back in 2005, they have in their mind, oh, well, you can't do bankruptcy anymore.